All right, here we go. Chapter 7 and 8 review video. Chapter 7 was on annuities and mortgages. We saw a couple of ways to solve these sorts of things, and this idea was an annuity is repeated payments or investments, and we found things like the amount at the end, the present value of them. We found how much you'd have to pay back or invest to get a certain amount at the start or the end, and we had we used formulas to do this, and we also leaned on the TI-83s. Also in here was a bunch of definitions, all that stuff. You remember that crossword that had a bunch of that terminology on there, and mortgage problems, and that was exclusive to the TI-83. We could only do mortgage problems on the TI-83, and so for the annuities we use formulas. Should go on your formula sheet. Mortgages we use the TI-83, and of course having those TI-83 steps would be a good idea. In Chapter 8, and I'm not going to do an example from Chapter 8 because it should be fairly fresh in your mind. We just finished our Chapter 8 project, and we know. But this is the stuff in there: fixed versus variable expenses, buying versus renting, the decisions and logic that goes behind whether it makes sense to buy or rent, making a budget and changing it depending on new circumstances in a person or family's life, and there's going to be a question on a budget question on the exam, and you'll be asked to demonstrate your understanding of budgets. Today, in this review video, we're going to do some Chapter 7 stuff. So, Ferd's borrowing $150,000 to buy a combine, and isn't she a beauty? He agrees to make monthly payments at 8% a year, compounded monthly for 15 years. How much are his payments? So, there's a decision to make, right? The decision is which formula to use, and I'm going to show you both techniques, both the calculator and the formula technique. How much are his payments? Well, remember there was two formulas. How much are his payments? That's R. So we're going to have one of those R formulas. But the question is it the R formula with? Here's all the formulas. I'm going to pause the video so I can write all the formulas on there, and we'll talk. Okay, bam, there they are. 4 formulas that we use. How much are his payments? That's the regular payments. Well, it's going to be one of these two formulas then, right? It's not going to be these formulas. It's going to be one of the R formulas, but the question is which one? And what's the difference? Remember, A is the amount at the end. So PV is the amount at the start of the payment. So where does this $150,000 go? Well, it's at the start, right? $150,000 is what Ferd would have to have if he got the combine. Then the payments came after his purchase. So the $150,000 is the amount now. So we are going to pick this formula right here. This formula right here. So the way we use the formula is we kind of decide, well, what's PV, what's I, what's N, and R is the thing we want to find. And in fact, during the unit, we kind of saw how to turn one formula into the other using our equation solving skills. That's kind of like the Chapter 6 thing, was to turn this formula into that formula. So really, if you had to memorize them, one of these would be fine. But of course, you've got your formula sheet and you've got all 4 of these on there and you're ready to go. $150,000 is the present value. That's the amount now. The interest rate was 8%. But the 8%, remember to write it as a decimal, is per year, but it's compounded monthly. So we don't get all 8% at a time. We get 1/12 of that. So we have to take the interest rate per year and divide by 12 since it's monthly. Similarly, he's paying off the combine over how many years? 15 years. So 15 years, but it's 12 payments a year, right? And that's $180, or 180 payments rather. This is a decimal, and if you're stuck, you could write in this decimal with as many decimal places as you have patience for. But this, since it's a repeating decimal, I'm going to actually put I in as this bracket, and we'll see how that works. And then I'm just going to substitute into this formula: 150,000 times 0.08 over 12 divided by big bracket 1 minus little bracket 1 plus 0.08 over 12 over 12, and that's this bracket. There's I is 0.08 over 12, N is 180, and then carefully put this into your calculator, and you should get about $1,433.48. And that's a statement, right? His payments would be whatever. How much interest does he pay? How much interest does he pay? Remember, the interest is his payments, right? 180 payments of $1,433 and subtract the original loan amount. And we only did about 1,000 of these calculations in Chapter 7. You should be quite comfortable with these. And you get about $108,000 interest on a tractor. But it's a really nice tractor. Okay, before we go on and answer Part C, I'm going to show you remind you how to do that on the calculator. So apps, finance, TVM solver, number of payments, and again, the calculator can do some of this stuff for you. 15 years, 12 times a year, the interest rate. We don't have to go the divide by 12. This is one thing that's a little bit confusing. The calculator will allow us just to put in the 8% straight in there. I don't have to divide by 12, or I don't have to make it a percent. Present value is the $150,000 that Ferd bought. He'll have it paid off in the future. Payments per year and compounding per year is 12. And then I go alpha solve for the payment, and I get exactly the same thing. Notice I should. Awesome. Okay. And this leads to the answer for C. One of the differences in mortgages, remember, is that an annuity, these things always match. The compounding period and the payments per year period always match. For a mortgage, the interest can only be compounded semi-annually. That's when it's like that, it's a mortgage, right? But when it was 12-12, that's an annuity. So that's one of the differences. Another difference, and now I'm back to my note now. So mortgages is compounded semi-annually. So that's supposed to be a 2 there. Okay, clearly that's a 2. So semi-annually compounded. The other difference, and this is more like a definition type thing, on a mortgage, if you mess up and can't pay your payments, on a mortgage, that means the bank can come and take your house. Right? They'll take your house and sell it for whatever they get, no matter what it's worth. There's a claim to the property. And that's not necessarily true with an annuity if you had a bank loan. And then I think that is it for the entire course. Yep, that's it.